Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. And together we bring you experts and ideas to help grow healthy, happy, successful families that are both inside
and outside the box. If you like the show, be sure to follow Christina on Facebook.
And please leave us a like review on your favorite podcast platform.
I now have the pleasure of introducing Elizabeth Kipp. Elizabeth is a stress management specialist, historical trauma specialist, and addiction recovery and betrayal trauma coach who utilizes post-betrayal transformational methods, trauma-trained and yoga-informed addiction recovery coaching, compassionate inquiry, and ancestral clearing to support individuals in their healing process. Elizabeth healed from over 40 years of chronic pain, including betrayal, trauma, anxiety, panic attacks, and addiction. Now in long-term recovery, she helps others tap into their healing potential, discover freedom from suffering, and lead a thriving life. She's an international best-selling author of The Way Through Chronic Pain, Tools to Reclaim Your Healing Power. Welcome, Elizabeth. It is a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Well, thanks so much, Herb, and thanks, Christina, for inviting me on. I'm so thrilled to be here.
You're very welcome. I was so excited whenever we were doing our pre-chat and everything, talking about, getting excited about helping families. And this is a tough topic because a lot of parents and families don't want to either admit that they are going through like addiction recovery or having those big changes in their lives, or they're kind of ashamed of it. And that's one of the things I really want to make sure that as we're talking with our audience and our parents is like, everybody goes through stuff, right? But let's dig a little bit deeper, and when it's appropriate, maybe even talk to your children and show your children about what's going on and how you've healed and changed, so that there's more understanding in the world and more understanding between the families. So thank you again for being here. And let's jump in with that passion question. I mean, partially it was in your bio about your own self-healing and things like that, but what is it about helping parents mostly, but then layering it down to families that really brought you to this point of where you are today?
Well, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and our mantra was we don't talk about that. So my brother and I kind of walked around on eggshells at home, and because we knew we were going to get it, we just didn't know when. And nobody wanted to hear from us, so it was kind of sit down, be quiet. We don't want to see you emote, and we don't want to hear from you. And I just asked you a question. Answer me. So this, you can see the dysfunction just there. But the thing is that not only there was there, but my mother was undiagnosed, untreated bipolar disorder, and she self-treated with alcohol. She also had she was a golfer, and she had low back issues, and she couldn't take pain medicine, which you're not supposed to mix those things anyway. And she just alcohol was the way she coped. Now, so I had my own issues with being on pain medicine for a long time, and when I went to the Betty Ford Center for treatment and into their pain management program, and that was in the afternoon. There's 100 patients on campus there, and 20 of us were in the pain track, the chronic pain track, and the other 80 were really not. They were just kind of in the normal population of people that were healing from alcoholism of some sort or drug addiction. And so I went to pain track every afternoon with the rest of the other 20 people. And everybody else, all the other 80, went to relapse school. And I wasn't getting any help, and I was getting classes and training in relapse. So I asked my counselor one day, well, what about relapse school? How am I going to, what's the plan there? And she said, there's an 80% relapse rate in the first year. And I kind of, she stopped me. That was her answer. There's an 80% relapse rate. And I started, and I thought to myself, when I heard the odds, I was like, well, I'm doomed. And the second thing I thought was, because I started as a social scientist in college. What's wrong with this model? If the best we can do is 20% success rate, right? We gotta do better than that. So
for most kind of treatments is actually pretty good. So
yeah, well, that's actually on the high.
Yeah. But the thing that went through my mind when she said that is, oh, you'll get that training the next time you come through here. So when you said that, she's gonna say, yeah, you'll get that training the next time you come through. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that.
That's hilarious. Fortunately, I didn't have to go back, but I did vow in that moment, once I got my own sea legs in my recovery, that I would do what I could to help move that needle on the relapse rate. And so I worked hard on my own recovery, and I learned what I could, and ended up doing the addiction recovery coach training, and part of that was really understanding family dynamics and codependency. And there's a lot going on there. First of all, it's like, I was just talking to somebody the other day who works with young moms, who's also in recovery, and she was describing the ads out there for young moms and alcohol. Mm-hmm. Oh, you've had a long day and you're working so hard. Here's some wine, or here's some beer, or here's some whatever, and they make it sound so innocuous and inviting. Yeah. And to the uneducated, we're walking right into the dragon's lair. Yeah. Right? So, and what does that mean? You get a drink under you, and now you've created a veil between you and your other family members, your kids, your spouse, and now you're not present. And not even getting into the health part of it, but I'm just talking about kind of what it can do to family dynamics. You're not present. You're not able to hear, right? You're not maybe able to reply in a helpful way. Right. So I'm mostly, for me, as a kid, I just got a lot of uncontrolled emotions thrown at me, right? So that was just kind of, and so what did I do? My brother and I, we learned to just squash them all. Yeah. So we're both in recovery, and our recovery, and I'm 11 years in recovery, and our recovery is unwinding that, right? Getting the issues out of the tissues, because they go right in there. Yeah. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is two other things I want to talk about. One is, we're all one unit, right? We're yes, I'm a person, and I exist in a unit, and we all, what happens to one happens to all. So it's just like, and also in our neighborhood, and in our city, and in our state, and in the country, and in the world, this kind of underlying understanding on a deep level, like even a somatic level, that we're not separate. And when you see that and really get that, now you begin to understand why family dynamics are so important, and why it's so important to speak up. The other point, so that's three prongs. One, the outside world is coming in and tempting, in unhealthy ways. The other one is we're all connected, and the third one is all biological systems, their tendency, their movement is always towards homeostasis. We're always trying to get towards balance. So addiction is an attempt by the nervous system to find safety, to find balance. It's just not able to do it. And there's a very interesting model that Jane Jane Weinall is she's felt sense polyvagal model, talks about how there's a trauma loop, and we get in the trauma loop we get so in a trauma loop we don't feel safe, and the nervous system's trying to get to safety but it can't, and so the default is, now I'm going to try and fight or run, and you're going to stay get defensive and stay like that, but we can't the nervous system can't sustain that for so long, for very long. So then it flips to the other option, which is shutdown, which is depression, fawning, hiding, isolation, and it can't sustain that for very long, so it flips back to this excited state. So you're going between this, we call it dorsal and sympathetic. You're flipping, but there's no ventral is that balanced state, but there's no ventral. So it's anyway, that's kind of polyvagal language. But the point is you're either super activated or you're shut down, and neither of those is really safe. But it's the closest that the nervous system can do to approximate safety when it actually can't find safety. So we don't talk about that as a mantra in a family. Is not creating safety. It's hiding, right?
Yeah, one of the ways that we explained it, or that a simple way to explain that is addiction is not the problem. Addiction is somebody's answer to a problem that they have because they don't know any better.
That's
so it's
right.
like, I have this big hole in my life. I'm trying to fill it. Ooh, this substance distracts me from it, makes me feel something that I don't normally, or makes me not care. But anyway, whatever that substance is, whether it's a food, whether it's a drug, whatever it is that you're addicted to, it fills in that little hole for a minute or makes it a little less. And so the drug is just the solution to that. So the treatment for that is to try and figure out how to fill that hole with something meaningful. So because once you fill that hole, then there's no room for that substance to take that away. And so that's the dance that I go through with people.
Beautifully stated. Dr. Gabor Mate talked about don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain.
Yes.
As you'll find, now I suffered chronic pain, but before the chronic pain, I had unresolved trauma. And my solution to dealing with unresolved trauma and the dysregulation that it created, the chronic pain it created in my body, was this addictive cycle. Because all I had was my wits and what was available to me out there. This is the other thing about addiction. We're looking out there for a solution to actually something that's here, and we just don't have the tools.
And that's another, I'm going to say, a big, huge problem with our medical system right now, is because they want to give you drugs to treat the pain, drugs to do this. Are they giving and drugs to treat the depression? But they're not ever actually trying to fix what's wrong with the people and give them meaning. And so it's this weird vicious circle. So diet, exercise, it's like, oh, my back hurts here. Okay, well, let's strengthen the body in this ways, work it opposite, and then we can resolve that naturally. Instead of doing the work when it hurts, it's like, oh, here's a pill. Oh, here's
a muscle relaxer.
Here's a muscle relaxer.
Yeah.
And so you build up these things that stay inside of your body instead of doing the work when it's necessary. You put it off. I did for years. I'm not saying you, I'm saying me. I did for years, and now the work that I have to do because of what I didn't know is a lot bigger.
Yeah, I remember when I went to treatment, I went to treatment with a torn rotator cuff, and kind of suffering with that. And once I got detoxed enough so that I could actually go to, strong enough so that I could actually go to physical fitness class, I walked in and talked to the person there, and I got this rotator cuff thing, and It was so cool. Now, nobody around me at the time, I mean, I got diagnosed torn rotator cuff, but no, we'll put you into, we'll put you into physical therapy and do this thing. I didn't get that for whatever reason. I get into this physical fitness, and the guy there exercises all the muscles around the tear, and the tear healed by itself.
Yes.
And I was like, that's genius. Right? But also I had plenty of water on board, and I was being well fed, and all the things. But
and it wasn't one thing. It wasn't like, oh, it was to rebuild that probably took months.
It took a lot less, actually.
How long?
Yeah. Well, I was in treatment for 52 days, and by the time I got out of there, I was in no pain, and I was in a detox bed for 12.
So not quite.
So probably about a month. It probably took about a month to heal that. So it may have been well on its way, but it was amazing to me how simple the solution was. And I always liked that. I studied to be a research scientist. I got that was my training as a plant biologist and ecosystems. And the simplest, the KISS principle was very important. The simplest solution is usually the one, right? So I loved Gabor's thing because he talked about, well, don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. You're asking, like, what's the question that you want to ask? This is another thing I learned in research science. Is like, be careful about the questions you ask. Right? And the other thing here that I got to give families credit for, and my own family is an example of it, we don't know what we don't know. We just didn't have education. In my family, my mother's behavior was considered eccentric.
Yeah, they didn't know that there was actually an underlying something going on.
Yeah. And she wasn't. We did have a Delaware mental facility, but she wasn't deemed by the family as any needing that. Yeah. So I don't know what they would have. I don't know what their bar was for that. But
right. Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
When we were growing up, children were supposed to be seen and not heard, and I'll give you something to cry about. And,
yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, yeah, we weren't shown how to deal with emotions. We just had to, whatever worked, right? And so it's like, yeah, that's how we both grew up on different sides, not even close to each other. So,
which is part of the reason why this podcast is here, right? By having these discussions and having our younger generations hear these and listen to these, it gives them a little bit of an insight into their parents and grandparents, but it also gives them the permission to have these discussions, because that's what we're saying is like, yes, if these discussions could have happened, if this curiosity would have grown, if you give your children permission to ask questions, then these things are going to be less and less, and we have less people in trauma.
And I was going to say, I sometimes threw those statements out at my kids, but it was way more of as a joke.
Yeah.
It was like, because something would be happening and I would be jokingly say that, but it was never like a serious thing. So we changed our parenting style from what our parents did because we didn't necessarily like it. And our whole generation did that. But none of us knew what we were doing, and we were all doing it our own ways.
That's right.
Some of them worked well, some of them not so well. There's a lot of really unkempt kids in the next couple of generations.
I'll give you an example.
Like we didn't know what we were doing. Now with the internet coming in, with this right here, right now, what we're doing, it's like we don't want the next couple generations. So it's like we have the technologies, we have the tools. So it's like, let's get this information out now so that we can share what works. And so for all of us trauma grandparents and trauma parents that are trying to make a difference, what is something that actually works, that is proven? Brain science, I know you've gone through a lot of training and stuff. It's like, instead of trying stuff that, oh, let's try this give us something that we know brain science, all of your years of experience actually works.
Well, I'll give you a great example of how my husband and I did things differently, but we didn't know why. We just kind of intuitively knew. And this is brain science. When our children are under 7 years old, they're not, they don't have the capacity to regulate their emotions. So when my son was crying for whatever reason, I would have gotten yelled at and, go out of the room. I mean, it would have been like that. It would have been, get away from me. But what we did with my son was we just held him, and we just kept holding him and holding him and holding him. And that's called co-regulation. So your child doesn't know how, the child at that age depends on the caretaker to regulate for them. And so we're doing this kind of thing, and we're actually sitting with a dysregulated little one, but we're regulated. And because we're regulated, which means we've got
taking the breaths, right?
We're calm, and we've got we've got awareness, and we're purposeful in the moment. Their nervous system now is learning how to regulate because we're teaching them. This was not part of my programming, but my husband and I knew instinctively, God help us, we were really fortunate. That was very helpful. Now, what wasn't helpful that we did, just as an example, was that we got a puppy for our son when he was maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7, something, and we had it for a couple of weeks, so enough time for bonding and stuff. And there was an accident, and the puppy died. And my husband and I really had no understanding of how to handle that,
Right.
the grief, and the emotion. And because we were all told to don't emote, we had we just hadn't had enough education to understand that crying was okay, because it was not okay for me. None of that was okay, right? So it's really important that the point I'm trying to make here is we messed up there. We did really great at the other. But the point is that our children we all have emotions. Yeah. And there's nothing bad about them. They are part of the human journey. So let's embrace them and teach our children through example how to navigate that, and that they're not scary, and that you don't have to hide them and all that.
I actually think that they're the most important part of the human journey. We don't come onto this planet to go to school. We don't come onto this planet to get a job. We don't come on this planet to have to pay mortgages. That's all. So we come on this planet to have relationships, to connect with people, to have connection, and to have life, to have these feelings. And when these feelings are happening, it's like, I'm alive. It's like, wow, when you get into the depths of grief, it's like, you're alive because you don't want to be. When you are ecstatic, and it's like, oh my God, I'm happy to be alive. So at the bright edges of these emotions, it's like, that's, life in those moments. And so to be able to take the smaller emotions and find your life in those, this is so much more of what being human is, instead of being society. And so that's part of what we teach, because if we can get kids that information at a younger age,
that they're not wrong,
that they won't have to try and unwind this you're at 11 years now. Are you close to having it unwound all the way yet?
Oh, I'm much better.
Much better.
It's
going to be a while, right? I've been unwinding.
I have parts of me that are like, hell no.
Hell no.
Right. And I'm like, I see you. So, So this is what Nikki Myers, who's a beautiful recovery coaching through Y12SR, the Yoga of 12-Step Recovery. She talks about the lost self and discovery of the lost self, and these parts that Richard Schwartz talks about in internal family systems. There are all these, we get fractured from all of this, and it's all about integrating. Right. It's all, and I remember being at an event with Nikki over Thanksgiving some years ago, and I had this experience where, and I was so confused early in my recovery. I had this experience where I was really sad, really grateful, and longing for connection to a very specific person in my family, and I had all those feelings all at once, and I had no idea what to do with any of it, so I just didn't do anything. I just allowed all of it, and I had that the evening before. The next day we went into the event, and Nikki starts talking about all these different things. We can feel them all at once. And I'm like, well, that's exactly what just happened to me.
Yeah.
And because I felt, just because of my own training, I felt there must be something wrong with me, right? Because nobody talks about this stuff. And if nobody talks about it, now I think there's something wrong with me, just because that's where I go, right? In my mind.
We need to get, again, this information down to the children's level in ways that they can understand it, so that they know that there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
So as adults and as parents, as you're going through these emotions, you're finding these split emotions all at the same time. It's like, you know, if you can, either right then or a little bit later when you're aware, express that out loud so your children hear it. Wow, I can't believe what just happened to me. I was feeling happy and sad and really confused all at the same time. And this is kind of how I thought about it. But again, if they don't hear it, if it's not expressed to them, if they don't understand it, they'll never get it. So yeah.
Okay, and one more thing I'm going to pop in, because it's a little funny thing, a little plug, is you said that boys don't really learn the emotional regulation until they're about 7 years old.
Children, boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
Yeah.
So having them sit in little rows and desks and for 8 hours a day is ridiculous. Your children shouldn't even start going to school until they can emotionally co-regulate in the 7 or 8 year old range. So there we go. Get your kid. Don't send your kids to school until they're 7 or 8. They will catch up. Probably quicker, because they will be able to emotionally regulate.
Well, and the thing that popped in for me there is that, you know, we have a group of parents right now that they're like, oh, well, I'm going to let my children kind of develop and see who they are. And so for those critical years of 1 through 7, they're not giving a lot of direction. They're not doing a lot of helping with emotional control. And then we're wondering why our kids are kind of confused when they're older. It's like, no, your job as a parent is to help them understand these emotions. Like you said, to help co-regulate, because they can't do it themselves. Until they're aware enough, they can't really be making their own decisions. So you really need to be guiding and helping them along the way.
You know, I love that you said that. And I'd like to just add a little bit of nuance.
Yeah.
Because of the work that I've done around codependency. And which is really an unhealthy kind of attachment to another person. Right. I'm, you know, in order for me, if I want you to like me, so I'm going to change my behavior. Right. That's kind of a quick and dirty example of what that is. Part of that was that I didn't know what a healthy boundary was. And I actually did codependent work with a group of recovery coaches right out of our training. For about 1.5 years, we worked with Pia Melody's work on codependence, and we taught each other what a healthy boundary looks like, because we had no examples in our own life. So, and I don't remember a lot of my childhood because I kind of blocked it out, but what I do remember is feeling invaded as a child, like my space invaded.
Uh-huh.
And so, although I wasn't allowed to do it back, you know what I'm saying? So there was this very unequal kind of, I got to honor them, but they're not honoring me kind of thing. And that's very confusing. And
Justice, having the concept of justice at that age is very confusing. So yeah.
Well, it's also, I made it about there's something wrong with me if I feel bad. So it's hard on the self-esteem. So I'm not saying, I'm just bringing this into awareness so that parents maybe kind of look into what would it be like to teach my child healthy boundaries, and what would that look like in our family dynamics, so that I just feel like that would be really helpful.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that if they don't know, if they haven't been modeled, if they haven't been explained to, if they don't have some way of understanding or getting that information, then yeah, it's going to be really rough.
And from the personality standpoint, there are a lot of introverts. This is this would be very, very helpful information, because I fit the classic of a wounded healer, because I had serious trouble setting boundaries. People would come to me with problems and I would shoulder the burden, instead of being able to say, this is me, that's your problem, I can help you, but I'm not going to carry that. That distinction for some people took me 40 plus years to figure that out, and to be able to teach children that, especially of, again, the quiet, introverted, right? Highly sensitive children, that gets taken advantage of, and you can lead a much more productive life if you can learn to set those boundaries. And as a child, wow, I wish I had learned that.
Yeah. I think we learned them kind of with each other in school, with our friends. But the thing is that the adults weren't modeling that. So we kind of made our own rules up, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And you talk about the different personalities. By the way, when you look at biological ecosystems, the more diversity there, the better, the healthier the ecosystem. So you could say the same thing about all these, our neurodiversity, the diversity of the human nervous system and the brains. The more diversity that there is, the healthier the population is. But this is not the way that our current paradigm sees things. I'm just putting that in there because I think it's really important.
So one thing I wanted to ask you specifically, because of your background in the addiction recovery and things like that, is if a parent is going through that and they have children around them, what's one way that they can either explain what's happening or share at age appropriate levels what's happening? How can they really kind of start letting the kids know, and then kind of making amends? Because usually if they're in addiction recovery, there's been some harms and some hurts along the way.
Well, that's kind of on a case-by-case basis. I give you an example of how it could be a problem. You don't want to put the child in a position where they have to grow up faster than, and that happened to me, where my dad would take me inside and say, oh, I'm having this problem, and like I was supposed to solve the problem.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not a helpful approach, because now I miss my childhood. You know what I'm saying? So you want to kind of meet them where they are. And if you're having the problem if you're trying to get clean with, I would bring a third party in to help moderate that conversation. Yeah. Like a professional.
One of the ways I kind of tried to explain it in one of the talks that I gave is that, you don't have to share everything with your child, but at least share with them that you're working on something, right? So that they don't like you said, that they don't take it on themselves. Oh, mom and dad are upset, I did something wrong.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are having a rough time, I need to do better to let and that kind of level, talk to them and say, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't about you, this is about me. And so
Yeah, I would have loved if that had happened in our household. But that distinction was, they just didn't have the capacity for that. They just didn't have the tools. But we do today.
we do today. Yeah.
This is just the best news.
Exactly.
And you know, if you have an addiction to the point where you're actually seeking coaching, counseling, help to get through it, your children already know. So this is
100%.
like, oh, hey, by the way, guess what? I'm an addict. It's like your kids know. So
Yeah, we knew that, Mom.
this is a conversation that needs to happen to say, hey, look, okay, I'm going through recovery now. I'm working on it. I'm going to relapse. It's part of recovery. I'm going to do my best, and we're going to get through it. And when I do fall out, we're going to try and figure out how to take the next steps and get back here. So it's like, it's not intentional, but stuff happens. So how do we move forward? That conversation needs to be age appropriate, and probably at the younger age somehow. I wouldn't even know how to start that.
And I would also ask the child, how can we support you during this time?
Yes.
Right? Because it's not about me as the parent. It's about the family, and it's about, you're not just informing them. Ask them what their needs are and how they can be supportive, and keep asking that question through the process so that they really feel included, because they are. I mean, this is part of living the model of the oneness, we're all connected. It's part of living that.
Yeah, and keep asking that question, because it can change day by day.
That's right. That's right. Now, for me, I just have to say, since we're talking about what are our needs, when I first got asked that question, I didn't know what the answer was.
Right.
It's like, needs, what are those? Like, I don't even know what that is.
I'm alive. I have everything they need.
Like, so let's get
word wrong.
let's get that sorted out so that then the child is able to actually ask for what they need, right? Yeah.
I really love the when you come back around, a lot of therapists and counselors and stuff really talk about either making amends or apologizing. When you do fall off, when you do have your bad day, whatever, you talk with your children. You say, yeah, I blew it yesterday and I apologize, and what can we do to build our relationship back, or help you understand what just happened, so that maybe the next time we understand it a little bit more.
Again, age appropriate. Those
yeah.
conversations are different at way different ages.
Yes, they are.
And it might be helpful to ask them, how is it affecting them? Oh, I fell off the wagon. I'm climbing back on. I'm trying to do better. How is that affecting you, and how can I support you, so that we're not making it just about us? It's it's a family thing. It's a family affair. Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things, again, that we say is like, I'm me and she is her, and we're both individuals, but there is also a we, and this we is an entity into itself.
That's
and
right.
So, and then the greater family is an entity. I think that's what you were talking about earlier as well. So yeah, I'm me. I'm an individual. I can leave, but this is a thing.
Yeah.
So when we are a thing as well, and so the family. So it's like, if I have a problem and I'm recovering, she needs to be part of that, because she's hurt as well.
That's right. Yeah. And who knows what kind of journey they're going through, the other person's going through. Yeah, so
addiction is shameful, but including your family can help all of that and alleviate some of that, because one of the things you find out is a lot of people are going through the same things. It's like,
that's right.
The stories, the circumstances, the circumstances of what happened might be different, but the feelings that you have inside are gonna be the same. You know, because if you hit your hand, it hurts. If somebody does this to you, it hurts. And it might not be exactly the same way that it happened to you, but it's the same pain.
That's right.
And just different ways of combinations of getting to it. And so by sharing that and you realizing other people have those feelings, have those issues, have that same stuff going on inside of them, it can help relieve you a little bit by that co-regulation, by knowing, oh, someone else is here and we can come down together.
Yeah, for sure. And the shame piece that's associated with addiction, in my view, it's a massive misunderstanding, because as we started, every organism, every biological system and organism is trying to get back to balance. And so the addictive cycle is the system's best, the human's best effort in the moment to get back to balance. There's no shame in that. Our machinery is acting exactly as designed.
Yes.
So, but we have to, this is a paradigm shift in the psyche, in the population, and we just have to keep pounding that point until people get it. There's
in that darkness, it's easy to know that up here, but it's not easy to know that in your heart. So some of these things, it's like, oh yeah, the shame, there's no reason to be shamed, because it's like, it was something that kept you alive. It saved you from something else, and there is no reason to be ashamed. But when you're in that, those feelings and thoughts, they aren't heard as easily. So it does take work, it does take help, it does take a coach to help you through it, and to keep reminding you and to keep you on that path and let you know that you're worth it. So recovery is completely worth it. Your life becomes better. It does get better.
You know, I love that you said that about the heart and the mind. And I would flip that and say that it's the mind that's the culprit. And it's the heart that closes. And the recovery process is learning to kind of calm the mind, clear the mind, balance the mind so it doesn't have a negative thinking problem, which is a whole addiction all by itself.
Yes.
So that we can now find, and we move from the mind being the boss to the heart beginning to open. We can hear the heart, and because it knows that there's no shame with addiction.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's just
saying.
the mind is like,
we need
the
to
mind
take that
is-
information from the head and bring it down here.
yeah,
Because it's like I can know something, but then once it's like, oh, once I know it in my heart,
yeah. Then the
it-
whole system changes.
yeah. So knowing something in your head is like, oh, I've got lots of stuff in my head, but then when that knowledge comes into the heart, that knowledge comes into experience and it settles in. That's the kind of knowledge that's really helpful. So again, that shame thing for me for years,
Mental.
I knew it was all up in my head. But then when it came into my heart and I finally knew, then that made all of the difference.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you know, we have a ways to go, really, in society to kind of understand this stuff, but we have a path. The good news is there's a path, and there are plenty of people that have treaded before us, and there are people that will do it after us, and we can do this thing together.
Yes.
What other messages do you have for your family? Because I know when we kind of talked our pre-chat, you're like, there's a couple of different things that I really want to make sure I say to the families. Have we covered the ones that you wanted, or was there another message that you really wanted our families to hear today?
Well, I the shame piece is a huge piece, and that we don't talk about that is a huge piece. And I would also, I know this is kind of a blatant thing to say, but I would also encourage people to get some training in, to the extent that they can, in suicide prevention, just learning like what the signs are, and not taking matters into their own hand, but knowing kind of, well, these are the signs and these are the resources that I can tap when I see them. This is one of those things in the world of addiction that's kind of a corner that people don't like to talk about. I just did a panel on it this morning, so it's kind of fresh on my plate. And also, we have that. That's something we've had in my own family. So, and again, we don't talk about that, and the fallout from someone deciding that that's the way that they were going to solve their solution. That's their strategy to solving their problem. The fallout in the family from that, I can't actually measure it. And, I love measurements and data.
Yeah.
The fallout is so on every level in the family. And it's like, we don't talk about it because we don't even know what to do with it. Right. And somebody on the panel said, we have to normalize the conversation around this. And I was like, I love that. And before we normalize it, we have to have a conversation in the first place, right?
Especially if someone in your family has committed suicide, because that increases the likelihood of somebody else in your family doing that more than any other thing. So if someone in your family has already committed suicide, get together with the other people in your family. Follow through, make sure, because and in even yourself, because it's like that is huge. So again, normalizing the conversation.
Got
to have the conversation first.
Unfortunately, a lot of people point to, we have so much more teen and young teen, not 17, 18-year-old teen. We're having it all the way down to the tweens, the 12s. And it's like, oh my gosh, why in the world would a 12-year-old think that there's no more to live for, right? So have those conversations. Make sure. It just brings to heart a dear little family that's in our community. The dad decided that was his time to leave, and now there's 2 little kiddos living with the grandparent because of it. Yeah.
Oh man, there's going to be, so much work to do around. Hopefully they've got all the support that they need, and they will continue to have the support that they need.
We live in a really, really small town. There's only 600 people that live here.
Wow.
And the next closest town is about 30 miles away. And that's only about like 1,100 people. So really, really remote, small area where we live. So
and supportive. Hopefully you all talk to one another, and we don't talk about that going on in the town.
It comes and goes. As
human
we're
nature.
Being here and interacting more and more, we're trying to help people really, not do that. It's like, no, let's talk about what's going on. Let's see how we can help.
So I grew up here, lots of trauma, never wanted to move back. My mom moved here, gave up her license, and didn't want to leave. And so she would have had to move somewhere, and she wouldn't have stayed with us. So we came to stay with her to spend more time with my mom, to put the family time in. And it's amazing being back here, how much healing I'm going through in this place that caused me so much trauma that I ran screaming as quick as I could. Now I'm back and I'm healing from the stuff that hurt me. And it's
that's beautiful.
Really, really weird transition.
And our plans are to help heal
the
community.
Through
also.
This, we're getting very involved in the community. And again, it's a small community. So
wonderful.
Bringing life back to it, and we're hoping to make it more pleasant for more.
That's just wonderful.
So Elizabeth, let our audience know how they can get a hold of you, because this has been a beautiful conversation and a lot of great nuggets and gems have been dropped here. And if someone's like, you know what, Elizabeth is speaking my language, she's the one I really need to get a hold of and find out more and see how either we can work together, or I know someone that she needs to get a hold of, let them know how to get a hold of you, please.
Sure. You can find me at my website, which is my name, Elizabeth Kipp, with a dash between the Elizabeth and the Kipp, elizabeth-kipp.com. I have all my social medias there. You can contact me through email there. There's lots of information there. There's blogs and there's all kinds of free resources. So you just find me. There's Elizabeth Kipp Central at elizabeth-kipp.com. Thanks for asking.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And thank you, right? Having conversations with beautiful souls like you, people who are really trying to help our families and our world, fight these things that are tearing us apart is so important. So thank you for being here today. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your passion with us.
Thank you so much, Christina and Herb. Great to see you.
And thank you for being here. It was such a pleasure. These kind of conversations are my out of the box. Love this stuff. And so many people who have gone through this, they crumble or they crush, or if they do make it, they just go around living their life. And you came back and you not only are telling your story, but you're helping other people through that. So you went out, you fought the dragon, you made it your own, and then you bring it back to help other people. And that is the hero's journey. And you, dear Miss Kipp, are a hero. Thank you for being on our podcast today, and thank you for making the world a better place.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, audience, you know what time it is. It is time to like, share, review, give this to someone else who might be going through something and might need just that little extra support, because we are here at Bringing Education Home to help raise healthy, happy, and successful children, which means that they need a healthy, happy, and successful family. So do your part, help share us around, and make sure that all these messages are getting out to the people who need them. Until next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. And together we bring you experts